Hello and welcome to another video. In this one I want to read you a statement given by Tony Lambrianou. It is said it was for his appeal against his prison sentence where he was sentenced to life along with his brother Chris and the rest of the Kray firm in 1969 at the Old Bailey. Tony was called a grass by the twins and most notably by Ronnie Kray, and it is because of this statement given by Tony to the police. It's widely said that Tony kept his silence about the twins and what happened on the night Jack McVite was killed, until of course Reggie admitted it in the book Our Story, written by the twins and Fred Dinenage. But that's not strictly true, as Tony did make a statement to the police. It is said it was given for his appeal for his sentence, but part of a statement his brother Chris gave after the trial does suggest Tony made a statement before the trial. So when he gave the statement is up for debate, but the statement is as follows. On 28th of October 1967, I met my brother Chris at about 7:30 p.m. and we went to various public houses to have a drink. We went to the Regency Club and upstairs Jack McVite joined us. My younger brother Nicky was also at the club and he told me sometime after we had arrived that Reggie Kray was also in the club. Sometime after midnight, we had gone downstairs to the lower bar. I decided to get some cigarettes from the machine near the office. I went upstairs and while there, Tony Barry came out of his office and then walked back in again. He then re-emerged and asked me into his office. Ronnie Kray, Reggie Kray, Ronnie Bender and Ronnie Hart were there. The conversation was to this effect. Reggie Kray, is McVite downstairs? Me, yes, he's drinking with us. Then something was said about getting him up to the office and either Hart or Reggie said, we're going to do him. I said, what's it all about? But I didn't really get a reply. I was asked if I had a car and I said that I had. Ronnie Hart told me to bring McVite round to Carol's and I said there were others with me and he said that they could come also. But then there was a discussion as to whether the others could come. I also asked what he had done. Reggie just said he was an effing C and then they just argued amongst themselves and I was standing in the doorway. Finally they said that there was a party going on around Carol's and Ronnie Hart, I think, said, bring him around, we'll have a talk with him. I went downstairs and invited the Mills brothers and McVite to the party. This was not unusual, as normally when they had a party they would invite everyone around. We went to Carol Skinner's in McVitie's car and when we arrived I was the first one to go down the stairs. There was music playing. McVite followed me. It was about 12:30 or so. I saw Whitehead and Bender coming out the back. I was the first one into the room and Ronnie Kray was standing in front of the fireplace with his thumbs in the waistband of his trousers. Two youths were dancing. Ronnie shook hands with me and almost immediately Reggie jumped on McVitie's back and put a gun to his head. It would not work. Ronnie hit him with a glass and cut his lip. McVite protested. I cannot remember the words. The Mills brothers were by this time in the room and Hart and Bender. I was terrified and I left the room. On the stairs, my brother Chris was sitting weeping. We had an argument about it because we realised then what was happening. Chris started to go. Hart came out and I quietened Chris because of him. Then Ronnie Kray said, what's the matter with him? Meaning Chris. I said he's upset. The Mills brothers wanted to go, but no one was allowed to leave. McVite had come to the door of the room. He had his jacket off. Reggie hit him and pulled him back into the room. I was just outside The door was ajar. Reggie had a knife at McVitie's throat. Ronnie Hart was holding McVitie, but the knife would not penetrate. I was terrified. I ran again up the stairs. As I did so, I met two children on the stairs, and I pushed them into the bedroom. I stayed there what seemed like a long while, but it was probably only a moment or so. I came out of the room and started going down the stairs again. They were all going out. Bender was talking to Reggie, who said, "Get rid of him." I remember both Ronnie and Reggie's arms were covered in blood. The Krays and Hart left. Bender persuaded me to go into the room. McVitie was lying under the window with his legs underneath him and half his stomach hanging out. His head was almost severed and his eyes were open. Bender said, "It's all over. It's done." I could not believe it. Later my brother Chris returned. He described how he cleaned up and disposed of the body, and it's true. I never knew that this was going to happen to McVitie. I know we should have come to his assistance, but I was terrified that without a weapon, the same would be meted out to us too. I have never belonged to the Kray firm. I met them at the same time as my brother Christopher, and only really started to see them about 8 weeks prior to the murder of McVitie. This was primarily because I was also a member of the Regency Club and also drank in the same public house. I personally was never asked to do anything by them, but I knew only too well their reputation. As regards to the solicitors, the same occurred to me as to my brother. We knew that false statements had to be made to Sampson's, the Krays lawyers, by witnesses, and it was more than our lives were worth to try to change solicitors. I told Ralph Hyams, the Kray solicitor, what had happened, and he told me that the Krays would be told if I persisted, so eventually I signed a statement for Sampson's that was quite untrue. So that is a statement given by Tony Lambrianou. Tony is seen as something of a stalwart for the twins on keeping his silence, but it turns out that that was not strictly the case. Tony said about other people giving evidence against the twins later in his book Inside the Firm. The worst damage of all was done by members and associates of the firm who gave evidence against us. It didn't take the brains of Einstein to see that they were out to save their own skins and to blame those in the dock for the violence that they had willingly participated in throughout their careers. That was the saddest, most sickening thing, to see people you had a cup of tea with, shared a fag with, standing up and showing that when it came to the crunch, their so-called loyalty didn't mean a thing. I think the twins were shocked and disappointed. Let's get it right. We all done wrong, but some of us didn't try to worm our way out of it by blaming other people. If the Grasses had got up there and told the truth, we may not have liked it, but we could have lived with it. If they had admitted their part and told us as it happened, it may not have changed the course of the trial, but at least we would have gone down knowing the truth had been told. But when we heard them telling lie after lie, there was no way we could accept that. God Almighty, it was unforgivable. So it was a bit of a contradiction from Tony, but I'm sure he never knew that his statement would come to light later on like it did. He did address his statement in a later book with Freddie Foreman. The book was called Getting It Straight, Villains Talking. Fred was quite shocked at hearing that Tony did make a statement. Tony admitted that while he was wrong to do it, he did deserve the best chance of getting out of the mess that he was in, and that this was the only way. He felt he was not given a chance at the trial to defend himself and felt he deserved something for it to help him. You can see Tony's point here. He was hung out to dry by the twins like the rest of the men on trial with them that day. This statement is not new. It's been out there for a while and you're all probably aware of it. But I've always found it interesting that most people that were around the firm and the twins always had a bad word to say about Tony. I'm not sure what I'm achieving with this video. It's not to bash Tony, it's just giving some facts that despite seemingly not giving evidence against the twins, he actually did a bet, possibly after the twins were locked up for 30 years recommended. That's if the statement was given for that appeal, like Tony says. I'm not sure how much this statement would have hindered the twins going forward with their future appeals against their sentences, but it's still interesting nonetheless. I've always found it strange that despite his loyalty to the twins, Ronnie especially didn't really like Tony. In Ronnie's later life at least, he called him a lakey and a grass, and I've always found it a bit weird considering Tony seemed to be so loyal to the twins right to the end. Tony's brother Chris also made a statement to the police. He talked about his fear of the twins and being under duress to go along with what they wanted before the trial, and he alludes to some threats being made to his family. Part of the statement reads, "I was in Brixton on remand with the Krays when they found out that my brother had made a statement to Sampson's that involved them. They constantly threatened me and my family. I was present at the joint conference in Brixton with my brother, the Krays, Ronnie Bender and Ralph Hyams. Ronald Kray was almost epileptic with rage over what my brother had said, and we both realised that we had to support the Krays to stay alive. I never wanted to go into the witness box, but such pressure was put upon me in the trial that I had to do that in the event. I made a statement in my own handwriting on 3 foolscap lined pages. This did not set out the account as I put it down truthfully above, but involved the Krays and told the essence of what happened. I gave it to Ralph Hyams and he read it and said that he would have to show it to the Krays. I told Hyams not to show it to the Krays, but he said he would have to. 2 days later, Hyams came back and said that the twins had said that it was not to be used. I went on about it to Hyams and he kept reminding me that Tony was in Brixton with the Krays. He said, "You have got to do it their way. The twins say they weren't there and you have got to help." He then told me I had nothing to worry about because the twins had a lot of power. Just before the trial, we all went to Brixton for a joint meeting with Hyams, the Krays, Ronnie Bender and my brother Tony. Hyams told me again that the twins were very upset about my statement and inferred that this meant them to be angry with me. When I saw Ronnie, he was livid with me. He said, "Are you effing well putting us in it?" He was swearing and shouting, and quite honestly, I thought I was going to get done. Hyams was present during the whole outburst. Whatever I said always went back to the Krays. I knew that I could not change solicitors because the Krays had told me that I had got to think about my family. I knew that their power extended way beyond the prison walls, and I thought it was more than my life was worth to go against them. So hearing what Chris is saying there, it does show the pressure that the Lambrianous were under in the lead up to and during the trial in 1969 at the Old Bailey. There's no doubt that they were heavily under the duress during all of this time. The fear of the twins completely instilled in them, like with lots of people in the East End at that time. Can we blame Tony for trying to save himself by making a statement about what happened the night McVite was killed, seeing the pressure him and his brother was under by the twins before and at the trial? I suppose it does depend on when the statement was actually made, whether he could be classed as a grass. Let me know in the comments what you feel about this if you wish. Like I said before, this video is not being made to bash Tony. I just found it interesting that he did make a statement against the twins. seeing as he seemed to come across as so loyal to them. So that's about it. I hope you have enjoyed this little look at Tony Lambrianou's statement about the murder of Jack McVite. It's a bit disputed whether it was made before the trial or after the trial to aid his appeal. Going by what his brother Chris said in that little bit of the statement I read out, it does seem from his angle that Tony made that statement before the trial, but who knows. Anyway, I hope you're all staying safe, and I will see you again in the next video. Thank you.
He took me to Ted Taser Labs. When I get to Ted Taser Labs, there's Cater, Frank Cater, Nipper Reed and John DeRose there. And Mooney, Henry Mooney. This is the investigation. And he said to me, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. There's your opportunity to tell me what you know. And he asked me 5 questions. Where was I on such a night? When was the last time I saw Jack McVite alive? Was I asked to take him somewhere? Was I asked to drive a car somewhere? And a couple of others. And I went, I don't know what you're talking about.